Good day to the Walter Sisulu University community. My name is Olivia Mkhatle. I am the Executive Director in the Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation here at the university. The main responsibility for this directorate is performance planning and, of course, quality assurance. In as far as the impacts or the benefits of the RNC as we know it is concerned, I'm just going to pay attention to the impact in as far as quality provisioning is concerned. And I would like just to look at three key areas: issues of equity in provisioning, issues of efficiency and effectiveness, and finally issues of revitalizing the curriculum. Also, we talk about the transformation of the curricula or programs. Starting with equity, we understand that the university has one mandate only, and has a mission and a vision to achieve, and therefore it is important that we work as one institution, centralized, ensuring that everyone has equitable access to education, particularly you students. It is important that what you receive from the university is of the same quality. It doesn't matter where you are located, whether in a campus somewhere else, but the quality of what you receive, the programs, and ultimately the award that you receive as your qualification should be the same. Therefore, the University Council is committed to ensure that. This is why the RNC, to ensure that there is equity in terms of access, in terms of support both in the academic provisioning, equity in terms of facilities that you find yourselves in, that no student studying same program in a different campus should be experiencing a different. So the benefits are that your experiences, and as far as your program is concerned, would be the same. That's the one big benefit in as far as this is concerned. Even in terms of staffing, have been sitting in different places in some cases would mean that what you receive in terms of your teaching and learning, your material, your assessment may be different, but the rationalization ensures that these are made equal. Remember that the standards that are used to credit your programs is one standard. It's one university qualification accredited by the Council on Higher Education. It's one university program or qualification accredited by a professional body for professional qualifications. So if the standards are the same, therefore, you need to receive the same. So this really would ensure that you get that kind of quality provisioning. The other one that I think it's important is efficiency. You know, when you duplicate unnecessarily, which is what is the case before the consolidation, before that we got the 7 campuses out of what we used to have. Duplicating meant the unit cost for your programs, so getting your programs is a lot higher. This means then that cost savings means that the university funds or your school fees can go a long way in providing better quality education. And the fact that once you have spaces, you know, you're freeing space in terms of your timetables, they are necessary duplications. That means then that it is possible to have more electives. That's opening spaces for more electives. The university aspires to provide education that would prepare you as a student for the world of work. Spaces are being opened for programs or modules that would allow you to do those. So in terms of benefits, there's space made available, there are funds made available for better quality provisioning in that regard. The other benefit is in terms of ensuring that the university has even more programs. You know, the postgraduate programs would have now space to be increased. We have more academics that will be able to offer those. So in terms of that area, the quality, the expanded space, the expanded or released or freed funds, instead of duplicating, providing what is provided in another campus, would allow for these things to happen. The other issue is, as we consolidate programs, where there were cases where programs offered in different places, the review of those programs to consolidate them, in some cases requires that you review the program, you improve on the program. So the other added benefit is that now you have revitalized, consolidated programs that probably wouldn't have benefited from any other. They might have to wait for a review of sorts somewhere else, but RNC provided an opportunity for these to be reviewed before they are consolidated, so that what is offered in one campus is exactly the same thing as offered in the other campus. So these benefits, and as far as we know, relocating and moving around is uncomfortable, but if you look at the overall benefits in terms of what the university would be able to accrue to yourselves, it's a lot more, particularly in the long term, in terms of the scope, the economies of scale, in terms of the pricing and the cost, and what in education we call economies of scope, that expanding and having more modules. We're now going, I mean, the work environment requires people that are have a wider scope of knowledge. We're going into, I'm sure your lecturers speak of multidisciplinary, transdisciplinary programs, so that when you go out there to the broader society, you are not just a doctor who understands medicine, but you're a doctor who understands the society, the community, how people work. The same thing with lawyers. You're not just a lawyer, you understand how the society works, the communities, the languages work. This space is made available to introduce these new modules, new electives, by the space created by the consolidation exercise. So the benefits are manifold. I'll just, those three are the main ones that I really think, if you think through carefully as students, you'll see it is really important for us to go, to rally together as the university community. Students that are, transferring to other campuses, as uncomfortable as it might be, that we rally together and make sure that this exercise or this project is a success to all of us. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. My name is Diana Mhlaba from Pulo Consulting, and I want to thank you for making the time to join us on this introductory presentation on change management. Kindly note that the presentation is interactive in that you will be invited to reflect on the content statements, the questions, and codes as it relates to personal experience of the rationalization and consolidation project. So let's not waste time and dive in. What's the context of the RNC project? The university had a total of 12 faculties, each with its own dean. 4 of these faculties were in the fields of business management. 3 faculties focused on education. 2 faculties were in engineering sciences. Associated with these 12 faculties were 56 academic departments, and their programs were delivered across 12 sites. And that context sets the context for our discussion today. We will start by looking at the broad dynamics of change, followed by a brief overview of the types of change that organizations of all sizes across industries typically go through. Thereafter, we'll dive into the actual practice of managing change, beginning with how you prepare for change and defining our change strategy. We will then take a deep dive into the theories and praxis of psychology and management and learn about emotions that underlie this process of accepting and getting comfortable with change. We will wrap up the session with a video about change management that puts all we have discussed earlier into some perspective. First of all, I would like to quote one Greek philosopher, Seneca, who once said, every beginning comes from some other beginning's end. So change is constant in many of our lives. So as change management practitioners the world over, we've come to define 3 types of change that an organization can go through. First, we have developmental change, which basically is about doing more or better than what currently exists. In that, we improve the status quo. Secondly, we have traditional change, which is about implementing a new state, which requires dismantling the present way of preparation, of operating. Second, we look at transitional change, where implementing of a new state, which requires dismantling the present way of operating and introducing new ways. And lastly, transformational change, which is about implementation of an evolutionary state, i.e., the end state is something that we don't know. It requires shifts in vision, strategy, and structure. Just take a moment to reflect on that. Which type of change do you think the university is going through out of the 3? Just take time to reflect. You can note that for yourself, and you'll be able to utilize that feedback further on as we discuss. So exactly what do we mean by change? There are some few definitions that come from what we've shared so far about what we mean by change. Firstly, change is about making or becoming different. It's a substitute of one thing for another. It's a fresh face, and also to go from one to another. Those are the definitions of what we mean by change. So, who amongst us love change anyway? I mean, if you look at what we've been through since we were young, we went through changes without even being aware of them. If you take your pictures now of when you were 3 years old and compare those pictures with when you were 16 or when you were in matric, can you notice the difference? Not just physically, but emotionally. You became better at interacting with other people. You formed relationships, which you couldn't do when you were 3 because you were probably scared of older people or strangers coming to your house. So all those kind of things tell us one thing, that we're not necessarily comfortable with change, except, of course, a baby with a wet nappy. We don't like change compared to a baby. Why? Because change disrupts. It disrupts a number of things. One, a sense of being incompetent settles in, our sense of comfort, our confidence, our sense of control, our credibility, and most importantly, it disrupts relationships. And the relationships that we've had and we've nourished throughout the years with our fellow students, maybe with our girlfriends and boyfriends, are probably now under a big sense of threat because maybe my boyfriend or my girlfriend is going to move to another campus. That on its own is disruptive. And the university acknowledges and welcomes that. And that is why change management is being implemented, to give you the necessary support that is required so that you can see through the faces. No one who is on this bus is going to be left behind. That's the basic principle and the commitment that the institution has on this journey. The question arises, now that we understand that change disrupts, how do we prepare for it? I want to take on another quote from another philosopher, educator, change management expert, who said, continuity gives us roots. Change gives us branches, letting us stretch and grow and reach new heights. The university is not lost. Just the way we do things, you've heard from Memo Khadla that there are more benefits than losses. So let's embrace those and make sure that we start to upskill ourselves with the change management process, the skills and the tools that the change management team will be assisting you with. And why is that? Because managing change has become a critical skill for the institution, for its leadership, for its employees, staff, and students at large. Hence, today we're talking about how do we as students go through the journey of embracing and seeing through the RNC project. First and foremost, when we prepare for change, we need to work on what we call a change strategy. And we'll look at three aspects to that process. First is the situation, people and their roles, and thirdly, issues for analysis. Around the situation, we need to clearly understand what is being changed. We know we came from about 12 faculties. That has been reduced almost to half. It's very important that we understand why we are changing. You can imagine institutions like VETS had to absorb the Johannesburg College of Education. And today it's seamless. If you didn't know that there existed a Johannesburg College of Education, you would never even think that that space where it's now the Faculty of Education at VETS was once a college of education. So it becomes a seamless integration. It gives one brand. Similarly here, those faculties, when they combine and the economies of scale that we win, and most importantly, we are going to have a sense of pride with our institution, about our institution. And what does that mean? It means the value of and the quality of the paper on which my degree is printed upon will be well respected and recognized, not just nationally, but globally as well. Remember, we are here at a university that is named after one of the founding fathers of our nation, Utata Walter Sisulu. You need to be proud to be associated with this university, not just by the name, but even the quality of education that you'll be receiving. Out there in the real world, it's not just the paper on which your qualification is printed upon, but it's which doctors, which academics assisted you to get your degree. Then we move to who is involved, what groups. You are aware that we've got the ISRC. You are aware that we've got the ISRC involved, representing students. We've got the head of student affairs, and that is a special committee that has been set up to look at student life and culture in terms of improving that as we move to the new environment. And lastly, we need to ask ourselves, what will happen if we do go through this process very swiftly? And what will happen if we don't? What if we stop this process now? What's going to happen to the credibility of the institution right from the start with the Department of Higher Education and Training? Let alone how other institutions will view us. Now, I want to get to the subject of how this makes us feel. The slide that you have in front of you talks to what we call individual transition process. William Bridges, a well-known management guru, wrote a book in the mid-90s. He called it Managing Transitions. And that slide that you see there is based on the work that he has produced. He says, based on research and experience, as Seneca said, when something ends, it introduces something new. We have ended a phase in the history of the university where we had 12 faculties. With those endings, a number of emotions represent themselves amongst us in a different way. Firstly, there could be those that are excited about the change. Some of us are anticipating what's coming. Some of us may well just be in denial that this thing is not going to happen. We shouldn't even embrace it. Then comes the transition zone where we are at now. I can imagine some of us want to be very creative in terms of how we're going to move, finding a new place to stay, making new relationships at the new campuses, so on and so forth. We want to be innovative in terms of how we're going to, make sure that we get the best out of our qualifications. Some of us may experience negative emotions such as anxiety, as well as confusion. Where we want to get everyone to is a situation where we have high energy levels, where we celebrate accomplishments. As students, we have moved, we've made new friends, we've passed our exams during that difficult transition time because the university gave us the necessary support. We had other students supporting us in the process, and therefore we become triumphant on the other hand. Why? Because no one who's in the bus was left behind, and the university would have lived to its commitment. Now, not everything or every emotion will be constant when we respond to change. What you see on that slide is what we call, in the middle at the center, there's what we call the awareness, buy-in, and ownership process. When I'm aware, I'm pretty much confident that I know what the university is trying to do. When I've bought in, I'm convinced that this makes sense for me. So I'm asking myself, what's in it for me? Am I benefiting as a student? And lastly, ownership, where then I know exactly what success looks like. Success looks like I have made the transition to my new res. Success looks like I have passed my examinations because the university supported me. And therefore, all the concerns that I've had when we started the process have come to pass, and I've now achieved my goals. But be aware, not all of us will go through in a linear fashion through the ABO process, right? So there are some of the things that are likely to happen that might undo our sense of buy-in and ownership after we've become aware. And those undoing factors relate to some of the personal changes that we might be going through during this process. And those include, I might be relocating and leaving my boyfriend or my girlfriend at the campus the way we used to cook our meals together and having fun in the process while studying, of course, because we're not here to just, establish relationships where, we'll end up getting married and what have you. We're here first and foremost for academic reasons, right? So that is understandable. It might make me feel very resentful for the process, so on and so forth. Other people's reactions, consider your student leaders. I used to be a student leader myself, by the way. And sometimes when the chairperson of my society says something and I agree with him because I respect him, I wouldn't even stop to question whether what he's saying is factual. I'll just support him, And I can imagine that during this process as well, those are some of the things that we're going through. Some student leaders we believe, we trust, and they might say things that we believe in and we trust. So as a result, we are likely to, side with them and change our sense of, the level of buy-in, awareness, or ownership, or take us backwards. Another thing that is likely to happen are external changes. Can you imagine if the Department of Higher Education went to Memo Khatle and said, hey, Memo Khatle, we've changed the requirements of one or two of your qualifications. You can imagine how that will set us back if we don't go through this process rigorously as the Department of Higher Education and Training is expecting us to do. And lastly, your role in it. What role do you play? Are you going to meetings? Are you reading about the project? Are you asking questions? Are you engaging with the ISRC? Are you engaging with your peer educators and counselors about getting the necessary support that the university has already made available to you to help you manage this transition process? On the other hand, positive things can happen, which is the green arrow when we go straight from awareness to buy-in to ownership, where we are prepared to learn. Our values are those of embracing, welcoming the change process. And I'm now aware that, well, not all is lost. I'm going to move my residence. I'm going to shift campuses. We'll find a way, to reconnect. There's transport going back and forth that will allow me to do that. And most importantly, to go to the libraries, go to the lecturers and attend my classes as scheduled. Those are some of the things that I wanted to share with you around, what is expected from us as students in terms of this change process. And because we are academics and we read, I want to finish this discussion with the next slide. A number of well-known academics, psychologists, management gurus have invested time and energy researching how people respond to change. And one that comes to mind, and I think if you've gone through grief, my apologies, if you've gone through grief, you may have felt a number of different emotions in the process. First, you deny that I've lost a friend who's going to another campus. You become angry, or I start to bargain. Okay, so there's transport. I'll be able to go there. I'll also be able to visit my library. I'll also be able to attend my classes as if nothing has changed. Or I can go into a level of depression, which is what we don't want any of our students to go through. The ideal situation is for us to accept the change and embrace it according to how much we can handle it. And that's basically based on the work of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. She's done a lot of research around the grief cycle, and William Bridges has basically borrowed from her. There are also other academics and psychologists which I won't go into. We're just sharing that for you to go and research it yourself. It can also help you with your own change process. And most importantly, educate yourself more about the change process. So take time to reflect on what we've shared today. When you have questions, you have issues you want to raise, you can go then and, make time with the ISRC, engage your campus mentor, engage your house committee rep, your peer educator is there to give you the support, your peer helper, as well as your wellness peers. So you are not alone on this journey. The university has put all support measures to make sure that you embrace the change and it doesn't affect you as bad as you thought it would. Thank you very much.